Laken Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University in Athens, Georgia. Laken had recently transferred from the neighboring University of Georgia because she wanted to be a nurse. Laken was also a runner. She competed in cross-country in high school and continued running recreationally in college. On February 22nd, she decided to take a morning run. She headed over to the running paths near the intramural fields and Lake Herrick on the UGA campus. This was a special place for Laken, a spot on campus where she would meet friends and think about her future plans and dreams. But that morning, Laken did not return from her morning run. Her roommate almost immediately called police. Laken's body was found less than an hour later near Lake Herrick. The initial investigation revealed she died from blunt force trauma and her skull was disfigured. Investigators worked quickly and identified a suspect through surveillance video. That suspect was Jose Ibarra, a man who entered the United States illegally. At first, Ibarra was living in New York with his wife and child, but after he got into legal trouble in New York, Ibarra then got a government-subsidized flight to Georgia, where he lived with his brother Diego. Jose Ibarra was charged with Laken's murder. The prosecutor chose not to seek the death penalty, and the defendant chose not to have a jury. And today was Judgment Day for Jose Ibarra as the judge rendered his verdict, and we are live from the courthouse with all the latest.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. It was a huge day on Court TV. Verdicts today across the board. And it began with the case for the murder of Laken Riley, and Jose Ibarra, the man accused of that murder, quickly convicted. I mean, it was a bench trial. Did we expect anything less? Did we expect anything less? No, we didn't. We didn't. But it happened. And as all this is transpiring, you try to think about, well, what's the takeaway from all of this? What's the takeaway from this man being convicted this quickly in this way? And I think the only way you can answer it is that some level of justice was served, but an incredible life was also lost. Now, the thing about Jose Ibarra is that the guy's a monster. All right, what do we know about him? We know a little bit about him, that all he did once he entered the United States was break our laws, take advantage of our system, and he had an opportunity. He was here illegally, but he was here in the land of opportunity. His wife was here, his child was here. If you're a man, what do? You do anything and everything you can to make the lives of your wife and your child better here in the land of opportunity. But he couldn't do that. Why? Because he's a monster. An absolute monster. As a result, he did nothing but break the law. He broke the laws when he came in. They assaulted the Border Patrol agent, he and his brother, when they came in. Then he gets to New York, gets in trouble there for endangering the welfare of a child. Oh, his own child. So then the government flies him down to Georgia. And he's on the prowl. We've seen the videos. There was going to be a victim that day. There was going to be a victim, and it ended up being Laken Riley. And that is everyone's loss. Because what you learned about her is that she is the opposite of this monster. She is what is good. When you heard and learned more about her from her family today, you got such a clear idea of she had a plan for her life, and it was all good. It was all good. And you think about everyone's loss, it's the loss of every patient that she was going to help. It was a loss, obviously, to her family and to her future family. And I'm sure the wonderful children she would have raised. Everyone's loss across the board here. But when you think about her parents, this was a parent's worst nightmare. You know that, I know that, any of us who have children, this is it. This is the nightmare. That you, and especially think about this, you raise your child, and when you're a dad and when you're a mom, you try to protect them. We know that our generation, we fly those helicopters around our children, and we do that because we love them, and we want to protect them and keep them safe because we know of the dangers that are out there. Sometimes we circle a little too close, but that's because we love them. And then we send them off to college, and it's that little transition period where you hope and you pray that they make friends, and she did. that she excels, and she did, and that she has a vision for her future, which she did. But this is the moment where we can't protect them 24/7. They're not living in our house anymore. And she's just going out for a run, for goodness sake, on campus. And this happened. And when you get that news, I'm going to play for you something that was played in court. Laken Riley's mother, when they learned the moment of what happened here. And it's tough to watch. It's absolutely difficult to watch, but it's important. And it's important because I want to make sure when these stories and these cases happen that we understand these are real people, and the impact that all the decisions that were made across the board that allowed this monster to murder this young woman, everyone who had a hand in those decisions needs to see the real impact of this. This isn't a statistic. This isn't a number on a spreadsheet. This isn't hypothetical. This is a parent's worst nightmare. Take a look.
Okay, let's step over here. Come on, let's go. Come on, bring over here, all right? Come on the road. Come on the road. It's not good. I don't want to tell you yes or no because I don't have names. I don't know who anybody is. This is a pretty serious incident.
It's absolutely cruel. Never should have happened. We know it shouldn't have happened. Today was the day, though, where the only thing that can happen at this point is to walk away from this with some sense of justice. And then, you know, you hope and pray that the family feels that, but their lives are shattered, absolutely shattered. Anyone who is connected to Laken is feeling it and will feel it for the rest of their lives. Okay, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, who was inside the courtroom all day, joins us live tonight from Athens, Georgia. Kelly, great to see you tonight. This was it's a little different. It's a bench trial. Today's verdict day in this case. What can you tell us about what happened today?
Well, hi there, Vinny. Yeah, very tough day. And that video you just played, being there inside the courtroom, watching it, it was one of the hardest things to watch. You could feel the emotion. It was audible inside that courtroom. The emotions were very high. That verdict, it came back really quickly. The state delivered its closing, then defense counsel delivered its closing. The judge then said that he would be back. He wanted everybody back in 15 minutes. We didn't know if it was going to be for the reading of the verdict. We suspected it was, but he had a very quick decision. Why don't we go ahead and play that verdict for you?
In the state of Georgia versus Jose Antonio Ibarra, case SU 24-CR-0323, count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault with intent to rape. I find the defendant guilty. Count 7, aggravated battery. I find the defendant guilty. Count 8, obstructing or hindering a 911 call. I find the defendant guilty. Count 9, tampering with evidence. I find the defendant guilty. Count 10, peeping Tom. I find the defendant guilty. Mr. Ibarra, if you will please stand. Count 1, malice murder. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole.
So, Vinnie, there you heard his sentence. Jose Ibarra, throughout this court case, he typically wore headphones, but he did not during the sentencing phase. And when he was listening to those victim impact statements, his interpreter sat right next to him and would then tell him what was being said. But a very emotional day inside that courtroom. Vinnie, quiet here tonight. Everybody pretty much has gone home after this very important verdict for this community.
Absolutely. I want to talk about those victim impact statements. To me, the most important part of what happened today, because today we learned so much more about Laken Riley, and I think we understood much better the full impact on not just the family, but on everyone from this brutal murder and attack. Who went first today?
Laken's mother went first. So after that verdict, the special prosecutor turned around and asked the family if they were ready to go right into the sentencing phase, because the judge said that he was ready. The family needed some time to compose themselves. And then those victim impact statements began with Laken Riley's mother, who talked about her daughter in that moment and how she panicked and she struggled and that she wasn't there to help. Why don't we go ahead and listen to what she had to say?
Your Honor, on February 22nd of 2024, our family and friends were given a life sentence without a chance of parole. Jose Ibarra took no pity on my scared, panicked, and struggling child. There is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that we have experienced or will continue to endure. On that horrific day, my precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. Laken's life was not the only life taken on that day that Jose Ibarra attacked her. The life of her family and friends was taken too. None of us will ever be the same. This monster took away our chances to see Laken graduate from nursing school. He took away our ability to meet our future son-in-law. He destroyed our chances of meeting our grandchildren, and he took my best friend.
They would often talk, always, when they would be on the run. Laken would be on the run. She would talk with her mother. On that day, Laken had let her mother know that she was going out for a run. Her mother did try to call her several times. Shortly after she began that run, those calls went unanswered, Vinnie.
The contrast between hearing the voices of the family and then seeing his face showing very little, if anything, inside that courtroom is really stark. Who went next after Laken's mom?
We heard from a lot of people. One of the people we did hear from, Vinnie, was Laken Riley's stepfather, who talked about a particular journal entry that Laken had made, which was really just heartbreaking to hear when he read it. Why don't we go ahead and play that victim impact statement for you?
Well, I can stand here and try to tell the world the things that made her such a wonderful person, as well as the many things we have all been robbed and deprived of. I think one of her last journal entries dated 12/17/23 says it best. So here we go. To my future husband. As silly as I feel writing this, my old small group leader once recommended it, so here I am. To my future husband, I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. I'm working every day to become the best wife I can be, but working through my current relationships to best prepare me for ours and our kids one day. I'm focusing on God and what He defines as a faithful Christian life and so that I can best embody those characteristics. I pray that you know that it is with my full faith and trust in God that I know this relationship has been handcrafted by Him. I pray that we continue to glorify the Lord, prioritize Him in every aspect of our lives, and raise our family, our future family, to be God-fearing Christians as well. I pray God is the center of our relationship as it is a gift from Him. I thank Him for you before I even know you. And can't wait to love you in the best way I know how for the rest of our lives. I pray you know and feel the importance of my love and hopes for our relationship. No matter what challenges we face, I pray that our trust in God and love for one another overrules the obstacle. May our relationship last forever. Your future wife, Laken.
That journal entry right there, Vinnie, it just goes to show you what kind of wonderful, young, loving woman that Laken Riley was. I really liked what her stepfather had to say, and you could tell in the courtroom that it really touched a lot of people.
That's such a rare moment to have, to go inside the mind of the victim. It's rare that we go there, and I'm so glad that he read that, because, again, it brings to the forefront the incredible loss in this case, unnecessary loss, should not have happened, and you know, who she was. And it's a quick trial. We're going to forget his name. Nobody knows his name. People are going to forget his name, you know, by next week. We're not going to know. Thank goodness. Well, we're going to remember Laken Riley's name. Other members of her family spoke as well.
They did, Vinnie. We heard from her sister, who, it was really interesting when the prosecutor was asking for the sentence that she asked for. She talked about Laken Riley's sister, saying that give this sentence, the maximum you can give, Judge, because of her sister, because 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, we want her sister to know that she is safe. So Jose Ibarra should get life without the possibility of parole. Let's go ahead and listen to what Laken's sister had to say.
Laken was and will forever be my most favorite person. She was my biggest role model, and I looked up to her in every way. She brought the joy that I needed into my life and never failed to make me laugh. There was absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for Laken, and nothing that she wouldn't do for me. I now have the burden of dealing with the fact that my best friend and sister will never come home again. She'll never send me another daily good morning text, funny TikTok, or silly Snapchat. The true sense of joy I felt when she would randomly surprise me will never happen again. I will never get to hear her infectious laugh or see her light of a smile ever again. I now get to explain to people when they ask me if I have a sibling that I no longer have one, and not just because she passed away, but because she got brutally attacked and murdered. I cannot walk around my own college campus because I am terrified of people like Jose Ibarra. I am completely disgusted having to even look and be in the same room as him. That predator is inhumane and is the epitome of evil. I have no doubt in my mind that the monster sitting in this room with us today is the same monster that encountered my precious sister on February 22nd, 2024.
You know, we cover court cases all over the country. In this particular courtroom, what Laken Riley's sister is saying is so true. You were so close to the defendant. Sometimes there's a little bit more room between the people in the gallery and the defendant. No, you could be sitting just feet away from him, Vinnie. So what she was saying that she was disgusted just being in the same room as him. And so I think a lot of people, you could tell, felt that same exact way. We also did hear from Laken Riley's father. He gave a victim impact statement. Let's listen to a bit of that.
Our world has been torn apart, and no matter what happens here today, nothing will ever bring her back. I am haunted by the thought of the fear she must have felt in those final moments, and it breaks my heart knowing that she suffered. I have to live with the fact that I could not protect her when she needed me the most, the pain of not being there, of not being able to stop what happened to her is something I will never escape. My daughter had so many dreams, so many hopes for the future. She had worked so hard to become a nurse, to work with children and spread the love of God. She was a loving, kind, and intelligent young woman. She had so much to offer the world, and her life was taken from her far too soon.
And Vinnie, we know the outcome now that the judge gave the verdict guilty and then sentenced Jose Ibarra to life without the possibility of parole. The death penalty was not an option in this case, so he gave him the maximum that he could.
Guilty and maximum done very quickly. Kelly Craft live in Athens tonight. Thank you so much, Kelly. Great job as usual. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us live in studio tonight, defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Darrell Cohen. Also with us, criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer. Great to see everyone tonight. It's an absolute brutal day for the family. I don't know, and I'm interested in your take on this, on how families, whether it's a father, mother, brother, sister, aunt, whatever it is, they're able to show such class inside the courtroom. I don't know if I could, if I was in their situation, to show such poise. Where does that strength come from?
I don't know. My youngest daughter was a competitive cheerleader with Laken. I happen to be a little closer to this than Minnie, and how her dad, not her stepdad, but how her dad was able to handle what he's handled is unimaginable, unfathomable. What happened to his daughter? I don't know where you get the strength. I suspect right now he's probably passed out because there was so much emotion that they had to go through and so much physical evidence that the family needed to see, but they never should have seen, but they had to see it. You can't explain this sort of thing, but I'll tell you this. We need to get mad. We need to have everybody vigilant. We need to have lights. We need to have everything going so this never happens again in our lifetime.
You know, Meg, the other thing is, like Kelly was describing the courtroom, you're close. And we see this in lots of cases where the family of the, you lost your daughter, your son, your mom, your dad, whoever, and you're right there, and the person you believe responsible is so close, yet to be able to restrain what you are feeling inside, to me, is so commendable. And I'm glad that we now, victims for the last, it's got to be like 30 years or so now, they finally got a voice. And now that voice is so prominent and so loud, thank goodness.
Well, you notice a lot of victims will have a statement prepared, and I think that helps in a multitude of ways. One is it helps them keep calm so that they become, overwhelmed with grief and all of the just absolute energy of just, oh my gosh, I'm that close to this person who did this to my loved one. That helps. But also they've prepared. They've worked very hard for this day in court. They prepared this statement. And so they've worked very hard on the words. And they know that every word has more impact than if they were just speaking, off the cuff. So it's horrible to say, but it helps them in the grieving process because they've lost their loved one permanently. And so they're using it for themselves to, I'm doing this to heal me and to be able to move past today. And so I'm going to read this, and I need this judge to know how I feel. And they all did a tremendous job.
And what's interesting, Josh, because we cover these cases and trials across the country, in some courtrooms, they'll allow just one person to speak. And I'm like, really? Like, the one person is impacted by this. That is so unfair. But here, at least, the family got to speak.
And Georgia's done a very good job, as well as some other states, not just allowing and permitting these victim witness statements, which, as Meg's alluding to, it's part of the healing and the processing and the mourning for these families. These families are the continuing victims. One of the only blessings is that Laken Riley isn't in the pain that she's left behind. And I tell you, this case is a reflection moment. It's an inflection. The three of us have multiple daughters, ranging in age from, a little bit older than Laken to mine's the youngest. And today, out of nowhere, we talked about headphones. because my daughter listens to him. She's that age, headphones and glued to her head. And what am I going as a dad who, this is my big state university. This is where my colleagues and this is where we send our kids.
Yeah.
And the idea that my beautiful daughter, their beautiful, incredible daughters, who I'm honored to know, this is a fear that they have every day now, because you can't just go jogging. And there's politics and there's optics and there's all kinds of stuff packed into this. But I want everybody to just sit back and remember this is a real loss.
Absolutely.
This isn't just true crime. This is
And you can't
theft.
just go for a run on your college campus. That's the
At
part
9
that...
a.m.
Oh, I tell my daughters all of the time, all three of them, keep your head on the swivel. Phones off.
Earphones.
I want you to hear, see, and feel what's going on all the time.
It's a shame. All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to hear from Laken's friends, classmates, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, another huge verdict today on Court TV. Chloe Driver faces justice in the cult baby murder trial. Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell.
She said, I will have you destroyed.
She's got another murder trial coming up.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
Laken wasn't just my best friend. She was my roommate, my sorority sister, and above all, she was my chosen family. The joy and kindness Laken brought into my life every single day could never fully be put into words. We confided in each other, supported each other through life's challenges, and celebrated our joys together. The loss of my best friend has shattered my world in ways I never thought possible. I never imagined that I'd have to navigate life without her by my side. Every day, her friends, family, and loved ones carry the weight of her absence, a weight that is heavy and unrelenting. Laken was my fearless other half.
There we heard from the roommate and close friend of Laken Riley, who also had an opportunity today to provide a victim impact. I mean, the impact of this is widespread. And thank goodness the judge allowed all of that to be part of the record. And these young people, I mean, I think that's what gets me the most in these cases, is when you have victims who are young and have to come in and explain how all this has impacted them. And they're going to carry that with them the rest of their lives. They're going to carry the fear. They may carry some guilt, not because they should be guilty of anything, but some level of guilt, like, oh my goodness, my friend, you know, I could have been there with her, or it's brutal. It's brutal. Our live think tank still with us, Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickland, and Josh Schiffer. Again, I think that's so important, you know, I mean, this entire community, and you talk about the community is this huge school that has this tremendous fear. I remember when we were covering the University of Idaho case when they hadn't caught the killer, right? That case, it took a while to catch the killer. They were scared out of their minds. And that'll be like the centerpiece of their college experience. For these young women and young men who are friends of Laken, this is what they're going to remember when they remember college, and it's going to bring back that element of fear and maybe some survivor's guilt. It's tough.
It's really a generational scar, because you're right, it does stay. When we talk about these cases now in true crime, where we see people come up on probation or parole hearings 30 years later, that's this case for an entire community. And it is the largest college town in Georgia. This is a town that literally everyone is connected to, but it's still a small town. And the ramifications from this kind of crime will echo in perpetuity. These issues of undocumented aliens, the ability of people to manipulate United States laws, leading into these indefensible results. And this is an aberration. This isn't representative of the whole, but it's real. And it's the kind of crime that grips a community. If they'd not had such good police work, this would have shut down the university for weeks as they tried to find the killer of this beautiful young woman.
Everyone would be afraid to go outside.
But how do you say we've got to stop? Josh says undocumented aliens, I say illegal aliens. How do you stop this sort of thing? No, it's not all of them. It's not even a large percentage of them, but one is too many.
Oh, yeah, one, or how about one that, you know, got arrested in New York?
And sent down here.
And sent out of the jurisdiction where he was arrested. I want you to take a listen to Connolly, who talks about what she's going through. This is another roommate and close friend.
I live with excruciating guilt every day that I was not accompanying Laken on this run, and that it was her and not me. And I hope and pray that it will never happen again to anyone. Along with this, the crime that this monster committed ruined one of the most special places in our friendship. Lake Herrick was Laken and I's safe space. Now, when I think of this beautiful spot, I think of the terror and horror my sweet best friend had to endure at the hands of this monster.
Powerful words, and there's that guilt that she's carrying with her. I mean, it's just, you feel like, well, I should have been running with her that day. She did nothing wrong, and she's the one carrying the guilt. And Meg, when we look inside the courtroom, he doesn't look like he's carrying any guilt.
He looks
like he knew he did it. He knew the evidence was overwhelming. It wasn't death penalty, yet he didn't plead guilty. He said, let's take this to a trial.
He looks like there's no one home. I mean, I don't think there's any language barrier because he's got the translation. He knows what's occurring in this courtroom. He sees the families. He sees everything. And I've been watching this, there's been no reaction.
Nothing. That's a sociopath. It's a sociopath. Okay, you guys are going to stay with us. When we come back, what we're going to do is take a look at the legal end of everything that happened here. Like, this was a bench trial. How did that make everything different, and is that better for appeals? We'll talk about it next.
Order. This trial focused on the death of Laken, which has overshadowed the life that she lived, the life that was stolen from this community. Life without Laken has been so dull, and having to learn how to navigate time without her through grief, anger, and fear has been beyond difficult.
An incredibly emotional day inside the courtroom in Athens, Georgia. This was a bench trial, and bench trials are different. They are just different, but I want to show you, kind of take you through what happened today, because today started with closing arguments, and then here we are tonight talking about a man who's sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Let's take a look.
Rebuttal will be some testimony from Special Agent Beyer, and he'll be playing portions of Diego Ibarra's interview for the court. So I have those items marked. So if the defense wants to rest, then we can start rebuttal.
Who is this? That's me and my brother. We were both together that day.
Okay, there's only one person in the video, so who is that?
En el video solamente tengo una persona. ¿Quién es?
Is that you or your brother?
Sí. ¿Es usted o es su hermano? No, es de él. It's him.
Him?
No, it's his brother. Right.
No, sir. The state rests rebuttal.
The physical evidence, the video evidence, and the digital evidence combined twist this very powerful knot that this defendant cannot get out of. There is no way out for him. The evidence in this case has been overwhelming, and the evidence in this case has spoken loud and clear that he is Laken Riley's killer.
Jose was short, he was chubby, he was, according to the state, wearing slides the morning of February 22nd. I agree with the state that Laken Riley was physically fit, she was fast, she could have outrun him. But there's another suspect in this case who was taller, who was more physically fit, who was wearing sneakers on the day of the murder, and that is Diego Ibarra.
Protect victim in recess. In the state of Georgia versus Jose Antonio Ibarra. Case SU 24-CR-0323. Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty.
Jose Ibarra took no pity on my scared, panicked, and struggling child.
To sum it up on the sentence would be on count 1, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
It's an automatic life sentence. The only options where the court can indicate that it should be without the possibility of future parole. We're asking the court to not impose that.
Mr. Ibarra, if you will please stand. Count 1, malice murder. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole.
Did you notice the timestamps there? You go from the state resting, and all the evidence is done 9:30 in the morning, and by 1:40 in the afternoon, he's been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. This was a bench trial. Still with us, our live think tank, Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. Fast, like super fast. I guess that's better for the families and everyone else.
Better than the YSL trial.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little insight, because I didn't know until I spoke to some people why they didn't ask for the death penalty. It would have punished the family for weeks as they had to go through this horrendous experience in the courtroom. As it was brief and horrendous and unfathomable. But if they had had to go through this for weeks with a jury, I don't know that they could have handled it.
Every choice a defense team makes, I look at like there's some advantage.
Mm-hmm.
What was the advantage here in having the judge? Is an appeal easier in a bench trial?
Well, I can only answer it from when I've done bench trials. Sometimes there would be a compelling argument in my mind that the elements wouldn't have been able to be proven. So I might think to do it because it's a technical argument. So I think the judge might be more. That's not the case here. So I'm trying to give you why I do them. Right. Which is not often, but I don't have any rational explanation here. I really don't.
And really, we've sat around and war gamed this as to, reverse roles with this defense attorney advising this client. There's overwhelming physical evidence. The state has to agree to allow the bench trial. State in Georgia has the right to a jury. If they wanted a jury, they were going to have a jury. So this was an agreement between the state and the defense. In my perspective, and talking about, maybe there was a shot at mitigating even the tiniest bit to get off of life without and move to life with. But given the overwhelming evidence,
but the only opportunity for that would be is if he pleaded guilty without a deal, and just said, listen, I did it.
I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I went crazy. He didn't do any of those things.
And
nothing.
That would have been probably my recommendation, because even watching this trial and putting up a feeble defense of, hey, it could have been his brother, there wasn't any mitigation, really.
There was no defense. At the end, we're going to point the finger at Diego, but like even he points at himself in the video, in the interrogation. Yeah, that's me. That's not my brother. That's me. Mm-hmm. Like it was him. His fingerprint, his DNA. It was him. There's no doubt. You can see the beard on the man who's getting rid of the stuff at the dumpster. So at the end of the day, there was zero advantage. If he was a man, right? If he was a man and he accepted responsibility for his actions and maybe felt some remorse and maybe apologized to the family today, then at least you have a legitimate argument to ask for some leniency. But the way this went down, there was no reason for leniency.
No. Vinnie, you said it correctly. He was and is a monster. And monsters don't apologize. He had no ability to apologize. All he had to do was to do something to help the family. At least turn to mom and dad and say, I am sorry.
And that's really where some of my questions are, because it would be absolutely appropriate if you're going to go down and go down hard, you get up there and try to say something to save your bacon. We didn't hear a word. We didn't hear anything. And that leads to me to believe, what is this guy's mental state? We've never heard word one. We keep assuming he's acting and he's a normal. I don't know, because the violence was so. They could have asked for a mental
evaluation, and they didn't.
Yep, and they didn't.
Well, he figured out how to get from Venezuela to the United States, to New York, get the government to fly him down to Georgia. So I'm not buying anything that he's got mental problems. He figured out how to game the system there, how to evade justice in New York, how to try to disappear here in Georgia.
And
we're out of time.
And let's give kudos to the state for being an efficient process.
It was a well-tried case. The judge did everything right. Prosecutors did everything right. Investigators did a great job. Josh Schiffer, Meg Strickler, Darrell Cohen, thank you. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she murdered both her boys, tortured them as they were locked inside of a sinking car 30 years ago. Now, the infamous Susan Smith speaking out to the parole board, trying to get out. Was she sincere, or was she just putting on a show? We investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering.
He is the boogeyman.
Lori Daybell.
She said, I will have you destroyed.
She's got another murder trial coming up.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And we've got Gabby Petito's parents. Their lawsuit has been tossed. The lawsuit against the Moab Police Department, who admittedly in the body cam video did not follow their own procedures when dealing with a domestic violence case. This is a case where a witness called it in that he was beating her. There's a photo. Yet they did not follow their own protocols, and now the lawsuit against Moab has been tossed. Let's take a look back at some of the back and forth between the Moab police and Gabby Petito.
Is there something on your cheek here? Looks like, did you get hit in the face? Kind of looks like something like hit you in the face. And then over on your arm, shoulder, right here. That's new, huh? Kind of a new mark?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Can I see the other side of your face? So, what happened here and here?
I'm not sure. It was a... really fast. I was just trying to get in the back of the car, and his backpack was on the back, and it got me.
So, the backpack got you? So, there's two people that came to us and told us that they saw him hit you. There's two people saying that they saw him punch you. We're just independent witnesses by Moonflower.
Well, to be honest, I definitely hit him first.
Where'd you hit him?
I slapped him in the face.
You slapped him first? And then what, just on his face?
He gets told to shut up.
How many times did you slap him?
Romeo, India, Alpha. Just a couple.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
Grab my arm so I wouldn't slap him.
He just grabbed you?
Yeah.
Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, and then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because you know.
I guess, yeah.
If you follow your procedures, she's alive, but that lawsuit has been tossed. All right, I want you to take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Kayana Rayuko Rochelle Alvarez, missing since November 6th out of Kiau, Hawaii, 15 years old. If you see Kayana, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Hawaii County Police Department. That number is on your screen. Let's see if we can get Kayana to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. We've got another verdict to talk about today. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.